Good evening, all. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Wednesday, the 15th of July. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to shoot trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at ctmthebiggerpicture.substack.com. It's published on YouTube after the delay of a week. Right, okay, this is, I got to say, one thing that's slightly odd about looking at the equity market at the moment is it's all under a major shadow, which is obviously the ongoing Iran war and what's going to happen in terms of the oil markets, in terms of that, which is really the main really important thing about the Iran war. Honestly, I'm amazed that we're still close to the highs, but nonetheless, we are. I'll still continue looking at the patterns and so on and so forth. Be aware that US is at full war with Iran here, and ugly things could start happening very, very, very soon. And when that happens, there may be a market reaction, so be aware. All right, in the meantime, we are nonetheless pretty close to the all-time highs, and I'm thinking we might see a retest of the all-time highs. Yes, we came pretty close to it today. We got up to about the 69.27 area, I think, and the high I've got here is at about that's at 76.94. It's actually closer than that on SPX, which is what I've been mainly looking at. No current divergence. In Q, one thing I would comment here is that I've got a very nice looking falling wedge here. And notice the beautiful trend lines, top and bottom, 3 touches. That is a nice falling wedge. We're testing resistance at the moment. Obviously, it could fall back to the support here, and I've got that currently at about the 28,700, 650 area maybe. But obviously it could break up and deliver. This isn't a flag because it's not coming from this this top area here. I could potentially draw one, but we've already got a very, very nice pattern here. Could it be part of a larger flag? Maybe. But if it is part of a larger flag, then that flag is likely to be a triangle. And I'm drawing in the lines here, but I mean, we just have to see whether or not it plays out that way, because the main thing we've got here is we've got a beautiful falling wedge, so mainly that's what I'm watching. In the event that we are forming a triangle, these are the lines that I would be looking at. We would basically, this would be A, B, C, this would take us up to D, which would be in about 30,750 area. And then we'd probably see a short E wave back, maybe to a monthly pivot at 38.43, and we'd move up. Would note though, that monthly pivot, since the turn of the month, that's been tested 3 times and it held every single time. So we will see whether or not that can change, but you can see test, test, test. We'll see how that goes. All right, RTY. This is just being aware. We've got a double top, which is broken down here with a target in the 29.10 to 14 range. This may be rejecting back up to the high, but equally we may be forming a larger pattern here, which would be a head and shoulders, and it really wouldn't be a bad one. So I'm bearing that in mind as an alternate. In terms of YM, it's not quite as nice as the one on RTY, but we got a potential head and shoulders forming here too. Had a buy signal here, reached the possible near miss target a while ago. DAX, potential bottoming action, double bottom forming here. We're just waiting for a direction here, I think. Here on the STX, could potentially be forming a head and shoulders, but it's not really a high enough quality for me to draw it in yet. Nikkei, this could still be a bull flag. If it is, then we're going to need to see a breaking conversion of the monthly pivot to open up a move to the high. This has been fairly weak. A number of these are under the daily middle bands, and I'll come to that as we go to the bigger picture charts. All right, let's have a look at SPX. Now, SPX is not under the daily middle band. We saw a nice test of the 50 DMA and the daily middle band. We bounced off that, and this, if we are going to see a retest of the all-time high, the obvious time to do that would be very, very shortly. As we're pretty close to it, we're within 40 handles. That's just a hop, skip, and a jump in this tape. We could easily do that, but the reason it hasn't done that yet is because of the Qs. The Qs have been very weak. We've got the close of today was at 717.74. daily middle band is at 720. We had a little break above that, and then we had a break below. We are currently, we've currently closed below. And while I've got a decent looking little potential flag set up here, there's no denying that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, the weakest index has been the Qs, and that's the reason SPX hasn't made a retest of the all-time high yet. And not because of the war in the background, even though that should probably be the reason, because we've seen new all-time highs on Dia, and we've seen them on IWM as well. Dia, we are seeing a move down here, potentially taking us back to testing the daily middle band and rising support, which are pretty much in the same area. We will see how that goes. All 4 of these, I haven't got to IWM yet, I'll just cover the others first, but all 4 of these have daily RSI 14 sell signals fixed, and in the event that the war becomes an issue, which it could really on any day, then well, we've obviously got a decent setup to go down. But it will be improved if the SPX at minimum does a retest the high, and I'd really like to see that. In terms of the hourly charts, not a lot to see apart from we're pretty close to the high. 15-minute chart, we've got a potential level top here. I was wondering if we might start seeing that playing out today. We had a little level top here, that played out, but we never made it down to main double top resistance. And I think the lean is probably going to be bullish going into tomorrow. We will see. All right, looking at the Qs, hourly charts, nothing to see really. In fact, one thing I would note in it, and I actually drew it in, is we have a compression triangle forming on the daily RSI 5 on the Qs, and this is generally a pretty good indicator that we're going to see a break one way or the other. Ideally, that would be a break to test the retest the all-time high. Obviously, it could go the other way. In terms of the hourly chart, nothing to see really. In terms of the 15-minute chart, nothing to see there either. All right, Dia. On the hourly chart, nothing to see. 15-minute chart, this is the very nice looking rising wedge that we've got from the late March low, and it's wondering about a test of rising support. If we see that, that's currently in about the 521.5 area, and we could do that as part of a bull flag, but it's not obviously part of a bull flag at the moment. All right, let's have a look at IWM. And IWM, right, on the daily chart, the Qs obviously has been spending a lot of time under the daily middle band, which is a concern. IWM has also been spending some time under the daily middle band. Did it close below it today? It did. Daily middle band closed at just over 296, and IWM closed in 295 and change. So we've spent multiple days below the daily middle band. This obviously could be an opportunity to break down. Hourly chart, nothing to see. 15-minute chart, well, hourly chart, we've got 2 patterns here, one of which goes back to April last year, and we are breaking slightly the support here. I'm wondering whether that might follow through and deliver more downside, but I think we may well be topping out here, but I'm wondering if we might see more retest of the high as part of the topping pattern. However, what I would say is just as the mirror to the one that we are watching on the futures chart, let's have a quick look. That is the possible head and shoulders forming on the RTY chart. We don't need a retest of the high to set up a topping pattern here. We've already got one. So we will see how that delivers. All right, just going back to Dia for a moment. All right, do we have the equivalent there? Not as nice. It's got potential, but it's not nearly as nice. Let's have a quick look and see how I would draw that at the moment. But at the moment, it's not a good enough pattern that I'd take it particularly seriously. But as a potential supporting pattern for, let's say, the IWM one, which is a much more credible one, then maybe. This would be a valid head and shoulders forming at the moment. This is the mirror of the one we're forming on the futures chart. Obviously, if we break down below this rising support, that would actually break down this head and shoulders. But mainly, I got to say, just in terms of quality, I'd be watching the IWM one. All right, let's have a look at DAX, which is slightly above the daily middle band, and could see a retest of the high. We've got a large double top here established already. And really, looking at the background that we're looking at in terms of the Iran war, the increasingly alarming oil situation, I'm really thinking that's got to start playing out. I think things could get very ugly. And we all need to be aware of that because it's a very real possibility. I know that people are thinking, "Oh, well, it's fine. Nothing's happened so far." But it's like I was writing a few weeks ago. Guy jumps off the Empire State Building halfway down. He's heard to say, "So far, so good." It's the landing that kills you, not the fall. And the landing on oil is ahead of us, not behind. And we will see how serious it gets, but it could get pretty damn serious. And at the moment, the lack of sanity being shown on, well, certainly the US side. I mean, you don't actually really expect sanity from the Iranians anyway. And actually, tactically, the Iranians want a major economic crisis in the world. So actually, for them, that is sane. It's the fact that the Americans are kind of walking into it, which is insane. So DAX, quite like to see retest the high, but we've already got a nice looking double top. In terms of Nikkei, is this a bull flag forming? Maybe. We're again below the daily middle band. So we have weakness here, and certainly in terms of the moving sideways, maybe we would have had a big move up over the last couple of months without the Iran war, but certainly the hesitation we've seen recently is about the Iran war and about people looking back and thinking, just on the bigger picture, why exactly are the markets going up? And that's a good question. All right, great. Let's have a look at DX. Now, DX, this is actually a really nice bull flag here. Maybe it'll go down through it, but it's actually pretty peachy. I'm wondering if we might see this break down. Just looking at the bigger picture charts, and I'll get to those. But this is for the moment a very nice bull flag. The next obvious target would be to go higher. Is there going to be trouble in the oil market that could help it along? Very possibly, yes. In terms of USD, still looks kind of like a bear flag, not as nice as the GBP one. Sorry, as the DX one. GBP has actually gone. This has been quite a rally. Now, partially this will be because of the new Prime Minister and the hope that it'll be better than the last several almost indistinguishably bad leaders that the UK has had. But the fact is, any incoming Prime Minister has got a tricky hand to play. But in the meantime, this has been sending the pound up, and that's been performing pretty well. In the event the dollar goes up a lot, I would expect this to go down. USD JPY, this looks like a bullish consolidation at the moment. USD CAD does not look like a bullish consolidation. Not sure what's happening here, but it doesn't look like a bull flag at the moment, unless this is A, B, and then we do a C down. That would be a maybe. Australian dollar, this could be a bear flag, but I gotta say, it's getting a little high. And I'm wondering if we're moving on to something else. What else could we be moving on to? Well, we could form an inverse head and shoulders. Move up a bit from here. We will see how that goes. NZUSD, not sure what's happening here, but we do have an valid inverse head and shoulders, which is broken up with a target in the 59.63 area. We may see that make a target. That would be fairly bullish. This is one of a number of things which has me wondering whether the next move on dollar will actually be down. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. And US dollar here, we've got a double bottom, which is broken up and not showing a great deal of sign of heading higher at the moment. We will see how that goes. Bigger picture, we've got, of course, this big bull flag. Best view of that's on the USD weekly. It's really nice. Doesn't mean it, obviously 30% of these will break down. But at the moment, we're in a rally. We've got a double bottom. It's broken up with a target in the 104, 105 area. I've got the exact numbers on here: 104.572 to 105.239 range. And this kind of looks like a bull flag. We may well break up towards that target. Looking UUSD, obviously we've got a big bear flag to match, and GBP USD, we've got a big bear flag to match. What are these looking like? Well, this is one thing that again has me wondering. This is actually a pretty nice looking falling wedge and could of course be a bull flag. I'm looking at that on GBP and I'm wondering, we have already got a double top which is broken down with a target in the 110.19 to 108.55 area, but while I'm wondering about it. All right, GBP USD. We've seen a nice little rally here. That isn't really that significant, but I am thinking that, of course, we've failed to break down from here. Any significance? We had a little Pinocchio through, but no more than that. I'm wondering if we see a retest the high and possibly go back to the resistance trend line. So again, that has me wondering. USD JPY, we had the big retest of 162 that I've been waiting for. Bigger picture. Well, that makes obviously a bigger picture, very nice looking double top within this extremely nice megaphone. And of course, that's suggesting that we might not have much life to the upside on dollar as well. In terms of USD CAD, this has got plenty of space to the upside. I'd be expecting this to go back to retest this high here at 1.48. However, if the bull flag on on USD was to make that big target, that would need to go considerably higher, I suspect, than 1.48. In terms of the daily chart, nothing to see really. In terms of Australian dollar, we've got a nice looking little level top, which hasn't broken down yet, but if it does, would have a move, set up a move considerably lower. NZ, hard to say what's happening here really. We've got a triangle which is trying to break up, and I was thinking that would break down. Will it? We'll see. But it's a nice looking triangle, and in the event that the dollar goes up a lot, I would expect this triangle to break down. In the event that the dollar loses impetus and goes in the other way, then of course this triangle is currently breaking up and it could continue doing so. All right, great. Let's have a look at bonds. Now, bonds, again, I'm wondering. We've had a nice little move down. This is the obvious read for this is a flag. It's setting up a retest of this low, but I've got concerns. It kind of looks like bottoming action at the moment on ZN. We've got a potential inverted head and shoulders forming again. Nice flag, breakdown, target and retest the low, and we haven't made that target yet. But if we switch over to the bigger picture charts, then hang on wait a second. That would be. All right, looking at TYX, we've got a possible weak RSI 5 sell signal brewing. That one's just brewing, but I'm concerned to see that on TNX we've actually got a full RSI 5 sell signal fixed. This could be a problem going back into the retest this high, and it raises the possibility that we're actually forming a larger setup to get back to the high, i.e. a flag. That would be A, B, potentially C down, or maybe forming a triangle. But I'm thinking that we might actually see some upside on the dollar in the short term. We will see how that develops. In terms of TLT, no divergence there. On the hourly chart, though, we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed, which again is supporting some more upside on bonds. So we will see how that develops. But I am thinking short term we might be looking at a decent rally on bonds, and we'd see where it went from there. All right, let's have a look at oil. Okay, oil. CL, we've got, on coil, which is Brent, we've got a weak 6-minute sell signal fixed, and we've got another one on CL, and we got another one on HO, but that's reached possible near miss target, and we got a full 6-minute sell signal fixed on RBOB, although RBOB has not been cooperating, has actually been going up rather than consolidating like the others. Now, we've got a lot of news in the oil market. It wouldn't surprise me to see these signals fail, but we still have these signals here, and normally I'd expect them to make target, and these may make target. These tend to be pretty reliable. I've got 1, 2, 3 past sell signals here. They all reach the possible near miss target. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many of those made target on the buy side? That one made target. 1, 2. That third one, yes, that eventually made target. Got a fail here, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that made target, and 1 that failed. That's a pretty good head rate. So I am concerned that we see a little more downside first. On the other hand, if we get some interesting news through on the oil front, we could just find we break up out of this consolidation early. And we've got some iron chest targets to get to on Brent. That target is at 91.5. In terms of CL, this looks like a bull flag forming, does on Brent as well. And an iron chest is broken up with a target in the 85 area. On HO, possible head and shoulders forming here. So I'll just draw in the neckline there. I am wondering whether this is going to deliver some more downside, but of course it might just break down slightly and then reject back up to the high. That's actually kind of an alternate way of forming a flag. We will see how that goes. I don't have any targets currently to the upside. RBOB had an IHS break up here. That's made target and then some. Not got any upside targets here, but in the event that we see big news on oil, big trouble, the Americans bombing desalination plants, and, well, which, I mean, the nightmare scenario is not actually that the US does that, although technically it's war crimes. But the nightmare scenario is that Iran retaliates by hitting desalination plants in places that actually need desalination plants, like everyone else in the Gulf. Or does some serious damage to a lot of the oil and gas capacity in the Gulf, which it might do in retaliation to the US attacking theirs. It would seem tremendously, mind-blowingly short-sighted to escalate that far. Do I think the American administration might be that stupid? Yeah. I think we've seen every indication that they might be. I'm really hoping they aren't, though. In terms of NG, this looks like a rounding bottom at the moment, possible inverse head and shoulders forming here. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. That hasn't made the target yet, or the possible near miss target. All right, let's have a look at. Hang on 1 second. I think I can move that up here now. Yeah, I can. All right, let's have a look at that on the bigger picture charts. Right, first thing to say is, I thought the floor had been developed at about 5% for this, but it turns out it could go lower. Straightforward moves, traffic returning to normal by July 31 is now down to 1% chance. So we've got a 12% chance of getting there by August the 31st. So sentiment is not great. All right, in terms of the Brent daily chart, we've still got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fix that hasn't made target yet, and frankly, I'm expecting it to. We are stalling for a bit. In my post that I wrote a couple of days ago, I was talking about hanging around at this kind of level maybe for the rest of the week to allow the daily middle bands to turn up. And for the bands to start expanding. That is the process we're watching here right now. Bands are starting to expand. Daily middle band is breaking up. What I was saying was that in terms of, unless we had a really powerful move, and I'm not ruling out one of those happening, but unless we had a really powerful move, I was expecting the bands to turn up and to start expanding before we saw this go up significantly further, and we are seeing that. In terms of the Brent chart here, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fix that hasn't quite reached the possible near miss target yet. In terms of WTech, we've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fix there too. I was talking about exactly the same. Bollinger Band, middle band is now turning up. Bands are now expanding. This is giving us some space for the next move up, and there is likely to be another move up. In terms of heating oil, no current divergence, so I haven't updated that one. But we've got, in terms of the hourly chart, no current divergence, but obviously we've broken over declining resistance with some confidence. In terms of gas oil, no divergence here really, and we've got. Sorry, I haven't updated this. We've got actually a potential inverse head and shoulders breaking up here. I was talking about this at the weekend. It's not a great example, but I'll have a look at it tomorrow, but it's actually not bad. It's just, I was thinking this was looking more like a flag, but I think flags are likely out of the window at this stage. And that would be the inverse head and shoulders. It's your right shoulder low. Very good match with the left shoulder low. I'm thinking that IHS has probably broken up, so we are likely to have an upside target here in about the 3.52 area. All right, so we shall see. In terms of natural gas, we've had a big move down. We have gone back and retested the May low, I think. Nope, we haven't. We've retested that on the future. Really, I'm kind of thinking it would probably do the same here. It's not done that yet. However, my lean is we're probably going to go lower. I am watching, however, for possible buy signals form, which we might get. But we haven't got one yet. All right, great. Let's have a look at precious metals. All right, GC hasn't made it to the low yet, but I am wondering if we're going to see an ABC. And maybe do a larger bear flag before we retest the low. Silver likely to retest the low as well, and actually getting pretty close. Wondering the same. Palladium, we've got a nice looking flag here, but it hasn't broken down yet. That's got me concerned. Platinum, exactly the same. HG, exactly the same. So while we're pretty close to low retests on gold and silver, it's a little odd the others haven't broken down. So I'm wondering if something more complex is happening. Right, or it could be that we're just not going to make it quite back to the lows on gold and silver. Let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, looking at gold. Gold, we've still got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed, and we have been testing the daily middle band here. Now, we don't absolutely have to retest the low, but it would improve the bottoming set up a bit, but we've already got a pretty nice looking double bottom. If we can see a breaking conversion of the daily middle band, we can go higher. On silver, we are in exactly the same situation. Tested the daily middle band, failed there. Doesn't have to retest the low necessarily, but it does need to get back over the daily middle band, and it hasn't managed that yet. In terms of palladium, this is over the daily middle band and holding above it pretty well. So we've broken up from the wedge here. We've got a nice looking potential double bottom. This could go straight up. Platinum, we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed. Haven't broken up from the wedge here, and we don't have an obvious bottoming pattern, but we could go higher and form an inverted head and shoulders. In terms of copper, this double top has broken down. Now, double tops don't fail like head and shoulders do, so they don't have right shoulders. But I am wondering whether this is just straight up rejecting back up into the high. In terms of GDX, we've got a very nice looking nested double bottom set up here, and GDXJ, we got the same. We haven't got buy signals here, but got to say, the pattern setup looks pretty nice. All right, great. Let's have a look at the other commodities. Okay, KC. KC, we are consolidating. Sorry, it seems to have lost all my lines temporarily. SB, wondering about consolidation as well. Technically, we've got a little level top, which is broken down here, but I'll mark it in when we see a break below the monthly pivot, and we haven't seen that yet. CC could be forming a head and shoulders, but it's not nearly as nice as the one it was forming yesterday before we did this extra move up for the shoulder. I'm wondering if this might just break up into a retest of the high. In terms of lumber, we've seen a move down. This doesn't look as though it's heading straight back into a retest of the high. That broke this rising support trend line, such as it was. Keeping an open mind. Doesn't look like a double top. We'll see. We're holding the monthly pivot at the moment. If that holds and daily middle, the 60-minute sell signals reach possible near this target, maybe it will head up and do that high retest from here. In terms of cotton, I'm pretty much abandoning the flag, and I think we've got an IHS which is broken up with a target at a retest of the May high. I was thinking it'd get dragged along with wheat, but actually wheat kind of went off and did it on its own. We had a double bottom break up here. That's now made the full target today. In terms of corn, heading higher, no obvious target for that. Soy, consolidating, could be a double top here. So if we break up and go higher, that wouldn't surprise me. ZL, I made the little level top target, double bottom target, and I'm thinking next obvious target would be a retest of the high. Live cattle is still going down, and I think we're obviously not going back to a retest of the high here. We've got a 60-minute buy signal here. That is hanging on by a thread. It wouldn't surprise me to lose that tomorrow. HE still looks like a bear flag. We've been forming it for weeks now, and it still looks, it's been, 5 weeks? Still looks like a flag forming. In the event we broke up here, there would be a possible alternate where we could be forming an inverted head and shoulders, and that would look like that. So something to bear in mind and a possibility. All right, great. Let's have a look at the bigger picture charts on those. All right. Okay, coffee. Coffee, we have seen a very, very strong rally, and I am wondering, this could just be a 50 back, but I am wondering whether it might continue higher. No current negative divergence. on the weekly chart. On the daily chart, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, suggesting some consolidation that could be a bull flag forming, not an obvious topping pattern. In terms of sugar, we've finally broken up over this falling wedge. I was wondering about a retest of lows, set up a double bottom. We've got other options here. We could go a bit higher, and we've got some possible inverted head and shoulder necklines. We'll see how it goes. In terms of the daily chart, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and that's not yet reached the possible near-miss target, and we're testing the daily middle band as support. In terms of cocoa, we had a huge move down. We went down 10,000, it lost 80% of its value. We've seen a big rally here that might again just be doing a 50 back and getting back into a back test of the monthly middle band. We will see how that goes. I'm not really expecting to head back to these highs, which were unprecedented. Okay, cocoa. Daily chart, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and it's a nice one. We've also got a potential inverted head and shoulders forming here, which I'm talking about. I was talking about it when we reached this level here as a possibility, and it's still very much a possibility, particularly with this sell signal suggesting that we will head lower, ideally into a low in about the 4,800 area, which would be about down here. We shall see. All right, looking at lumber, still got an overall bearish setup looking for 35250, and that's still been forming for over 3 years, and that's still not showing any signs of actually making target. No current divergence. We do have a little level top here, which I'm watching with interest. In terms of the cotton charts, I'm wondering about a retest of the high, and here we've got a little level bottom here, which is broken up with a target almost at a retest of the high. That gets us up to about 87.3. We tested the high, would be at 88.88, but I'm thinking we may well be heading to retest the high there. Could continue higher, could of course be forming a double top. Wheat, nice move up here. We've still got a double bottom which is broken up with a target range in the 739-742 area. We're close to making a higher high. Once we've made that, if we can sustain it, we can head off to those targets. In terms of the daily chart, we haven't quite retested that high. You can see we've fallen just short, but I'm thinking we may well do that in the next day or two. This, of course, could be a double top, but I'd be leaning towards it going higher. In terms of corn, weak RSI 5 buy signal on the weekly's made the possible near miss target. Again, we've got a nice effective double bottom here. In this case, however, it hasn't yet broken up. I'm still thinking it might. In terms of soybeans, we've got a nice looking inverted head and shoulders forming here. Again, that hasn't broken up, but it might be about to. In terms of the daily chart here, we've got a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing here. So we do have a little inflection point, little level top here. We could see a reversal. All right, let's have a quick look at cryptos to finish off. And all right, looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is in an inflection point here. We're back over the 50 DMA. We could still be looking at a double top here. It's still most definitely in range of doing that. We've not seen a conviction break up. If we do see a conviction break up, and that would currently be supported by an RSI 14 daily buy signal, which is not made target yet. But if we do see a breakup, then of course we've got this double bottom here, and this would, on a sustained breakup over 67.3, we'd be looking at a target in about the 65.5 to 67.5 area. We could see that happen. In terms of Solana, could still be a flag here, still kicking around the daily middle band. Haven't made a higher high here, but I would say on Bitcoin, that is an RSI. I haven't marked it in, but this is an RSI 14 sell signal that has fixed, and it's nice. Looking at Ethereum, this is an RSI 14 sell signal, again nice, which is trying to fix at the moment, and I've got a possible flag resistance here. I am wondering if this might turn down again. I am thinking this is still on the inflection point. We will see. Here, this could be a little bull flag, but I've got to say, Bitcoin is a big dog. We've got a daily an hourly RSI 14 sell signal fixed there. That could head straight down. We shall see. I'm still wondering about a retest of those, and equally, I'm wondering when on earth we might see gravity hit. The equities market is trading sideways at the moment, but really, in terms of the news, this should be down. Be aware that we're living on borrowed time here, trading on borrowed time rather. So we will see how that goes. But don't be surprised at all if we see a big move down in reaction to something that happens. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys again on Sunday. All right, cheers.